When the Walt Disney Company officially announced that Muppet Vision 3D, along with the entire Muppets courtyard, was going to be removed to make way for a Monsters Incorporated themed land, fans were devastated to know that Jim Henson's last project that he personally worked on before his untimely passing was not going to be preserved in its entirety for future generations. Now, after Disney announced that the beloved show was going to be merely recorded during a cast member only after hours event, we are now learning that that event will officially be the last ever viewing of the presentation, out of view of regularly paying guests. Let's talk about how Disney has shut fans out of the final viewing of Muppet Vision 3D, possibly for fear of vocalized backlash, here on That Park Place.
Disney World has announced it will block fans and guests from the final showing of Muppet Vision 3D, Jim Henson's last work. So guys, if you had dreams of being in that final audience from Muppet Vision 3D, well, you better have a cast member ID on you and be registered with Disney HR. Otherwise, you can't go. This article from That Park Place by our friend WW Pro says Muppet Vision 3D, Jim Henson's final work, will host its final showing within days, yet Disney is determined to block fans from enjoying a historic moment and perhaps out of fear for protests and negative PR. Walt Disney World has announced the permanent closure of Muppet Vision 3D at Disney's Hollywood Studios with its final public showing scheduled for June 7th, 2025. The attraction, which debuted in 1991, is notable as the last project directed by Muppets creator Jim Henson before his untimely death in 1990. Now, Disney is sharing new details of how it will end. It's clearly set up to try and hide any backlash for the company. TLDR, fans and media are not invited to Jim Henson's final performance. So following the public closure, Disney will host a private farewell event exclusively for cast members on June 10th, 2025. The event will feature the final showing of Muppet Vision 3D along with food, games, and access to Pizza Rizzo, which will also close to the public on June 7th. While this is disguised as a special event for cast members, one must wonder if it's a sneaky way to clear the Muppet courtyard of guests before the park closes and also hide when the last showing of the day occurs. Vash, I think there is some validity to that statement.
Yes, I'm, when I heard about this announcement right here, it was so depressing, so sad, because I think a lot of people would have loved to have otherwise attended the very last showing of the show, especially with Jim Henson's legacy on the line right here, and it's going to be stripped away from us forever. I just cannot believe that they would take this opportunity away from so many people. I do understand, though, that Disney has had an interesting relationship when it comes to people's last rides. I know that, like, for example, like Mr. Toad's, right? The Save Toad campaign. Do you remember that whole thing, Marvin? I don't know.
Yeah, they shut that down like basically in the middle of the night, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, so they did let it go one more time, but they were so afraid about the Save Toad campaign and those campaigners that they were like, okay, we could have a situation where people actually jump out and chain themselves to facade work and so forth, or props and all of that. So they actually stationed a security guard in every single one of those rooms on the last day in order to prevent something like that from actually occurring. Now, from what I understand, at least when it came to like the closure of Splash Mountain, Jay from Park Hopping was actually speaking about this because he was actually there on that last day over at Walt Disney World. And apparently there were many vloggers who wanted to get their last ride on Splash Mountain and have that be the video for upload. So they kept letting people go by them, and you had this huge, what is it, grouping of vloggers who were trying to get that last ride. It was becoming a little bit untenable, and so that's why they let cast members actually get those last rides in on those logs, so that way they could overcome that issue. I do wonder if the same dynamic here is playing out. The only thing that's very, very different is that, well, Disney is archiving this from what we understand. Is that correct, Marvin?
Well, yeah, supposedly they're filming the final, the final performance for archival purposes. Not sure what they're going to do with that. They might put it out on Disney Plus, something like that. But it's funny. And Pro mentions this in his article that there is a perfectly viable theater, which is just over just across the lagoon over at Epcot in the Imagination Pavilion, which is currently, was once home to Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, Captain EO, now just plays a bunch of like short things that, short cartoons that came before, like, Pixar movies and whatnot. And you could have easily moved Muppet Vision 3D there. Like there was a place for it. It's got a large pre-show area where you could have duplicated the pre-show. If they actually cared about this, if they actually cared about Henson's legacy, they could have moved this over to a place where they were already not doing anything with anything. And what better place for Jim Henson's final work than the Imagination Pavilion? It would have been absolutely perfect. And of course, they didn't do it, Vash. They didn't do it at all. They probably never even considered it because they don't care. They don't actually care about any of this. And, you know, barring the fans from the final production of Muppet Vision 3D is so it's so against who Jim Henson is or was as a person. I mean, Jim Henson loved the people so much that his funeral had there was like a public funeral. Like they aired it on television. You can actually watch it on YouTube. It was a joyous celebration of life, and he left very specific instructions as to what it was going to be. So you know, it's just more of a slap in the face of a great man's legacy. You see right there, Idea Man. You know, they don't care about his ideas. They're throwing them all out. That pre-show area, all the great sight gags, the net full of Jello, you know, the pigs in space, you know, the swine trek, spaceship up there, all of it gone. No more glorious 3 after 9. I have a Save Muppet Vision t-shirt, and when I wear it at Disney, people come up to me all day. Where'd you get that shirt? I want that shirt. I love that shirt. Thank you for wearing that shirt. Because this is one of the most unpopular things they've ever done.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. This is really, really terrible. I mean, to get rid of beloved attractions like Splash Mountain and Muppet Vision 3D, and it's just this constant erosion of what, you know, made Walt Disney World for many guests, and many of those guests have nostalgia for it and keep coming back year after year. This is this is a terrible decision. It really is ill-suited to this theme park and to this resort and to the memories by which so many people have of this specific resort right here. I don't know why they wouldn't lead into nostalgia. You're never going to be Epic Universe. You're never going to come close to it. So why not have something that Epic Universe will never have, which is this connection with Jim Henson, creating these magical experiences for not only guests coming back, but their children and so forth. I think a lot of people would want to embark on that. No, they're going to get rid of this. And right after Epic Universe opens, which is a bizarre decision because, again, the Monsters, Inc. land will be anchored by the coaster, right? Well, that coaster is not going to be open, for 3 to 4 years? Why close this now? And as we've examined the artwork before on the show, you'll see that the Muppets Theater is still there. It's just with a different show inside. This is such a bizarre decision on so many levels.
A stage show for Monsters Incorporated. Man, that's going to be a new and bold concept that they don't have anywhere else already on property. By the way, guys, I'm being sarcastic. They have that already. It's called Monsters Incorporated Laugh Floor, and already nobody goes to it at the Magic Kingdom over in Tomorrowland. You know, another area that is just having the imagination sapped right out of it. It's, you know, people keep asking me like, oh, when are you going to go do Muppet Vision for the last time? You know, I don't know if I am. I honestly don't know if I am, because I feel like it would just be really upsetting. Like, and it would not upsetting is like I'm going to sit there and cry in the theater. I think I would just get so blindingly angry. Yeah. It just doesn't sound like it would be a pleasant experience for me. It's like, it's one thing like when like it's like a show going off Broadway and you get to go see the final bow and you love that you were a part of the experience. This is something that could have been there forever. This is something that is going away due to nothing but short-sightedness, corporate greed, and the absence of imagination. This is going somewhere because while Josh D'Amaro is this snake wearing a man suit smiles, you know, his big toothy fake grin, like I will not, I don't think, go experience this one more time. I think I have seen it for the last time. I will just get too angry, too upset, and just too I feel like I don't know. I can't do it. But you know, meanwhile, some of Jim Henson's legacy is getting preserved. Netflix just saved Sesame Street. Hopefully that, you know, they can get it back to being what it used to be, and, you know, avoid all of the, you know, identity politics nonsense that they've been inserting into the show. But, you know, so there are some bits of Jim Henson's legacy that still do exist.
Yes, and that's wonderful, and that's amazing. It's just not going to be at Walt Disney World, which is a really big shame right there for
Michael Eisner
obvious
tried
reasons.
very, very hard.
Yeah, well, he did. But when Jim Henson passed away, that really, I don't know. It cut us off from so many different things that would have been part of Disney Studios and would have been a lot harder to replace than maybe Muppet Vision 3D today, which is a real shame. Very, very unfortunate. I do hope they find some kind of home for the Muppets outside of just Rock and Roller Coaster. We'll have to see how that all develops and shakes out right there. But for this last showing, it is clear to me that people are so distraught over this decision that they could not possibly have that connected to the final showings, especially if they're going to record them in some capacity.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.